Hi plant friends, it's Leanne in Adelaide back again. I'm standing by my back window. We can see a little bit of the outside garden. Today I'm going to do an inside tour. Now my plant collection inside is quite tiny, but given that we're all meant to stay at home, I thought why not just do a little tour of inside. So welcome to the inside of my house. And going across, I'm going to start with the low light ones over here. Here I have Peperomias. One is variegated, and that is a recent purchase. They grow slower than the plain green ones. And I just like the colour variation. The remainder are all the Peperomia Obtrusive Folia, which is sometimes called the baby rubber plant. I started with one plant and I keep propagating. That original plant came in quite a small pot. It was this one here, the black one. And I've just been propagating off of each one. So they're very easy to propagate. The initial propagation was dividing them into 3 plants from the original plant once it grew. But now I'm just taking cuttings and putting them in bottles, and I'll show you that in a moment. And water propagating in bottles, so easy to do. Right, let's go on to the next area. Like the tablecloth, plant themed tablecloth. And we'll zoom over to the kitchen bench. I've got some plants over there to have a look at. This one in the red pot is an Anthurium, and that was a purchase that my parents gave me for a birthday. I bought 2 of them and repotted them straight away, which was a mistake, and they suffered a lot of shock from transplanting from the shop environment to home, and only one survived, and that's rather sad looking compared to what it looked like when it was purchased. However, I'm going to let it sit there near the kettle so it can get some extra humidity. The second plant here, any plant fanatic will know this one straight away, ficus lyrata, and that one is actually grown from a cutting, and I took that from a taller plant I had, and I'll show you that taller plant in a moment. And I did that one by water propagation as well, and it's looking quite good. So it's only a few months old, that one, and it's already put out 2 brand new leaves. Here we've got another smaller plant of the same ficus lyrata, and that has smaller leaves. I grew that from a tiny little plant that I got very small, would have been probably around that height. And I've also taken and cutting off that. That's why you've got this rather long stretch in there where it stopped growing for a while after I did that, and now it's starting to grow again. Across to the other side of the bench, I've got a little Pilea peperomides family. I've got lots of little babies outside. They probably need to come inside soon. It's starting to get a bit cool at night here. But I started with 3 plants, and I've got quite a few little babies propagating. This is the original mother plant here in this white pot. And you can see that I've left her alone for a while, and she's now given me lots of little babies in there. I think the other day I counted 8. If you go right around the stem around the other side, there's more there. But I like to wait till they get a good size. This one here is probably not quite big enough, but nearly big enough. And I usually water propagate them if they don't have very good roots, or if they've got some reasonable roots, I can put them straight into soil. So it really depends on when I pull them out as to how they're looking. And these are the other 2 purchases, which have so far given me 1 or 2 babies or pups. Here's another Peperomia in a little stripy pot. And again, another ficus lyrata, again bought as a really tiny little plant, which I tend to like to do. I like to buy little tiny plants. It's a real challenge to see how they grow from tiny ones into big ones over a couple of years or so. This is my only purchase here of a larger ficus or ficus? Tomato, I don't know. Anyhow, that was the pot that the Anthuriums were going to go into, and I had 2 of them in there, and it was a disaster. They were repotted in a too big a pot, and they went into major shock. So I've repurposed that pot and used that for this plant. I bought that for, it was $25 Australian, just to give you an idea of the price, and that has actually grown quite a bit. That's the one I've taken the cuttings off, and you saw the growth of that other one on the other side. Over here I've got some ficus elastica, and that's the one with the darker leaves, and you get red, slightly reddish new growth. It's a nice little specimen there, and that was a relatively small one, but not tiny. That's probably about 2 years old now. That's a cutting from that plant there, sitting in the window, getting lots of sun. Not today because it's quite overcast, but has been getting a lot of sun and has put on those 2 leaves that you can see there and there. That's all come off in the last month, so that's growing well. And that one is the Burroughs Tale, and that's doing quite well in that spot. Lots of sun, likes it. I let it get dry right out before I water it again. This one here, I'm giving it quite a lot of water because it's getting a lot of sun and it can handle lots of water. And then over here, I have a number of these plants I bought online when they were on special. That's called String of Dolphins, and if you have a look really carefully, you can see some little things that resemble dolphins, you know, flying out of the water. Excuse the hand shaking here. I'm sort of leaning over, bending down. So you do have to use your imagination a little bit. Over here, a Nephrilius exalta, or Boston fern, I believe it's called. That one has grown quite a lot. I've repotted it once already, but I didn't repot it straight from the shop like the mistake I've made with other plants. I waited till that grew quite a lot and it was really bursting out of the pot, and I only went one size further, and it's probably not that far, probably another few months away from being repotted again. Let's go down to the passageway, which is quite dark, but we do have one plant there. I'll show you. So the plant we've got here is another ficus elastica. And this is just the plain green one. It's doing okay here. I do give it a little holiday away from this quite dark area every now and then near the window that I was just at, just so that it gets a bit of a boost, and then it seems to do okay for a while. Right, I'll go upstairs. There's a few plants upstairs. The final part of the indoor garden tour is in the ensuite upstairs. This is called commonly a ZZ plant. Gets very low light, but it seems to like it, and you can see the different colouring of the foliage there. 3 new shoots have come up, and that's been in the last month. Another string of dolphins. And you can see some that actually do look like little dolphins coming out of the water. And these started off as leaf cuttings only with little tiny plantlets. Come on, focus. No drainage holes, so I do have to be really careful how I water these. But they're doing okay. I'm back downstairs now. The last lot to show you is my collection of water propagations in the laundry. So I've got these mostly bottles and a few, a jar and another container here. I've got some Goldilocks Pothos, just one piece there, and you can see a root growing out already. That's that one there. I've got quite a few of these. I think these are called Ruby, the variegated one. Ficus elastica. These have come from two relatively mature, when I say relatively mature, like 18 months to 2 years old plants, and I keep just cutting off. There's one of the variegated, one from that variegated Peperomia, and you can see some roots forming there. So very early stages yet for that one. Oh, that's grown just in the last day or so. That was quite short, about half the length, so that's good to see that one. I change the water in these every week, and you can see that this is a result of a bit of drinking here. Gin and single malt, so we keep all the bottles and then I can use them for propagation. That one there hasn't done anything yet, but it's relatively early. Sometimes they end up just rotting down the bottom, but so far hasn't rotted badly, so I'm going to leave it there. This one's another of the Peperomia Folia, and the roots are quite developed. And I'll show you what I mean by that. In my opinion, that's ready to plant out. It's just a matter of getting around to doing it. So you can see good root growth there. You can even see a little plantlet there. See if I can zoom in. See, little tiny leaves coming off. So it's trying to produce another plant underwater. Pop that one back. There's another one that I took a lot later, and that has got just a tiny amount. This one's ready to go too. So that's it from Leanne and Adelaide. The next one will be an outdoor tour. Haven't done one of those for a while, so subscribe and stay safe and healthy during this horrible time that we're going through with coronavirus. I'm home from work. I'm casual. I work in the health industry, but without going into too much detail, it's not an essential service. It's actually been closed, the area that I work in, and I will not be back at work for at least 3 months, probably a lot longer. So I'm not getting paid while I'm off work, being a casual worker, and I feel sorry for all the other people that are in that situation. I'm okay financially, but I know others aren't. And I really feel for all those people that are struggling and need to get their rent paid, pay bills, all that sort of thing. It must be really, really hard. So stay safe and well, everybody, and I'll be back outdoors next time to give you an update on how things are going in my garden.